Hey folks, I just wanted to do a little video tonight. It's been a kind of crazy few weeks and had a great weekend with my buddy Galen Summers, or Lord Humongous, or Maverick, as some of y'all used to remember him back in the 2000s, like 2000, I guess six or seven to 2009, when he was wrestling in North Carolina before he was stationed in Japan. So we had a great time. But I just want to talk about wrestling a little bit. I've been going back and forth about, do I want to promote anymore, or what do I want to do? So I've been to some more wrestling shows this year than I had been to in, I guess, since 2015 when I was helping run Ultra Wrestle. I went to maybe two in 2020 and one or two in 19 and then 18. I don't even know as I went to one at the end of 18 because I've been, well, actually two in 2018 because I've been sick all year for the most part. So let me just put it to you. I'm just putting it to you out here like this. So I was planning on doing more stuff this year because I was working with Pro Wrestling Union some. That didn't work out for whatever reason. Somebody didn't like Cole Maccabee, and Randy Wayne and other people didn't like what I had to say about James Johnson and Selena Rose and what was his name, Jacob Bryan. And so they all got butt hurt and stuff. They were looking at what else happened this year, considering that the Rose and Ryan are, I think, getting a divorce or something, and Rose is living with James Johnson, and this kind of tomfoolery. I've been vindicated on that. And then, of course, they don't like that I was, always on Fabulous Schmoola, Ethan Case. Well, guess what? He's had so many problems with his Palmetto Wrestling Academy students leaving this year and causing trouble in marriages and whatnot. So I vindicated on that too. Last year I started with my cousin Tillman Allen, getting him trained with Lodi, and then getting him some bookings. And he decided with school, he's an accounting major, so it's like his school is very hard, right? And so he decided, well, he doesn't want the wrestling lifestyle. He wants to, do a normal human being's lifestyle, and I can certainly agree with that. So he's not gonna, maybe when he becomes a school coach, a high school football coach or something, he might do a wrestling show as a fundraiser and get in the ring and wrestle. So I don't blame him for that. I think that's wonderful. He obviously had the physical and mental talents to do it, but hey, if live your life to be happy, to make you happy. So I'm absolutely cool with that. Best of luck. He's coming to Clemson here, so I'm excited I'll be able to see him a little more often. But so as for me, so since Tillman's not wrestling, I had to think to myself, who do I want to see wrestle? Well, obviously I'd love to see Chase Emery wrestle because he's really excellent. And then my buddy Galen, I'd like to see him wrestle more. And maybe if Tyler Thorne, he lived closer because he lives in around Nashville, I'd like to see him wrestle more, and Colton Cage wrestle more. And I always love seeing Jeff Conley wrestle, but he's injured and out to probably middle of next year. And well, let's see who else. Well, I don't know. There's just not Sammy Love up in North Carolina. Of course, then again, his daddy's a promoter, and there's lots of shows running around there. So I can go to North Carolina and go see him wrestle, plus go and see Matt and Jeff and my other Omega brothers up there when he does that. So I really have no motivation to promote wrestling. None whatsoever. And there's plenty of open territory to run wrestling shows there. No one runs here in the Seneca and Clemson area where I live. No one's running Abbeville. Pro Wrestling Union no longer runs in Union. They run in the Unified Department in Spartanburg. So there's plenty of open areas to run, but if I can't, if the only person I can book that I can't won't have to bring 8 or 10 hours away is Chase. What's the use in it? So I think it's just best for me not to. Plus, the wrestling economy right now is really weird because the economy, our economy is weird. There's, and so let me give y'all an economics lesson because apparently so many of you do not understand from your post basic economics. So think about it. From March of 2020, we went into lockdown and stuff, and so demand dropped for things like gasoline and a lot of stuff, and the supply chain was interrupted, so that's dropped prices. Well, now everybody's coming back, and things are coming back, and there's inflation, so that happens. Supplies are limited now, but demand is high. As supply decreases and demand increases, prices increase. Okay, these things happen. So, and I've seen with wrestling, some people, Ronnie Gossett for one, when he ran his first show, we'll see what happens with Jeff Lewis Neal or Neil Koloff's show coming up. His show's coming up. His first show did very well. We'll see how the jury's still out on those. I've been to 3 Count Wrestling this year. Their crowds have diminished as the year has gone on. Of course, their WrestleMania comes up in December, Country Santa Clash, which I think is December 11th at the Calvary Baptist in Greenville. And I went there last year actually I didn't, because there were not people, the people were not wearing masks and stuff, and it was packed, so I got the hell out of there. But they draw a good crowd, raises money for Country Santa in Pickens County. So I went and saw CJ Smith and talked to him for a little bit, then I left. But so we'll see how they do. So their crowds have dropped. Battle Zone, I've been to some this year. Their crowds have dropped to embarrassing levels, as has Pro Wrestling Union. They can't draw more than 100. They're in the Union area, which, I mean, when Derek Vanderford and I and Dion Johnson were running things and doing things, I mean, 150 was a bad crowd. So I think we're going to see this happen, and there's more people trying to come and promote and do things that have absolutely no business doing it, no idea of what they're doing. And I just think this is not going to be a good year coming up for wrestling. This past year has not been a good year for promoting wrestling, except for a few people like AML and PWX around here. Even over in Georgia, some of the promotions. I know I was at Lariato this weekend, and Luke Gallows was talking about, our crowds are off right now. And then I know some of the others have had low crowds. So, and so it's not going to do it. Next year is the 25th anniversary of Omega. My good brother Tim Noel up in Richmond, who's another kind of an Omega OG. He's got a bunch of footage, and we're looking at maybe releasing some of that, because that stuff no one's really ever seen. His stuff, because he would have a camera and tape there too at our shows. So I'm interested in maybe doing some of that. Abbeville Friends, when Matt gets, when demand cools off for Matt to come do autograph signings and things at places, maybe into next year, I hope to do a meet and greet in Abbeville, maybe at the Civic Center, just as a thank you for all the years of wrestling, because I'll be heading on to my 30th year in wrestling, my 30th anniversary on January 15th of 23. So it's something nice like that. And plus, And then Jeff does his concerts, so I'd like to have love to see Jeff at the Opera House. So those are some things I'm going to work on next year uh, for you. And the rest of it, I'm just gonna, I'll try to Chase Emery. I'm gonna try my best to get you some bookings with out of the region with people that are friends of mine, and in particular up in the Northeast and Mid Atlantic areas like Maryland, and also down in Florida. And I know some people that want to come wrestle you, so I'm going to see if I can talk to some of these promoters around here to help get them to come off the hip to help you out. So we're going to do that. I still want to manage and wrestle some up in North Carolina for Wachi, Scotty Dial at Cage, and maybe even go back to Gouge for let the Blue Inferno come back for one shot. Because my foot's about healed. I've been on the knee scooter and stuff since June. I had a hole in my foot. Well, I've been trying to. Well, there's a hole seems to be gone. I will find out this in the next week or so that if it really is gone, I can't find it anymore, and I've shaved down the callus and stuff some. So it's just we'll see. So that's about all I have as far as wrestling goes. So now let's get to the fun part of this video, the TDAWG Annual Achievement Awards. I have done this for years now. Usually I just write it out on Facebook and post it, but I thought I would do the video here for you good people for this year's Achievement Awards. And it's not really like what they do for it goes like with some of the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards and just some of my own. So let's start at the top, the Pro Wrestler of the Year. The best wrestler I saw this year in terms of in-ring work, and I know just some criteria. I talk about no one who's under contract, no one who you can see on a national promotion. So it's like, so if they've been if they're a regular on AEW or WWE or NWA or Impact or Ring of Honor, I'll leave them out. Okay, I'm gonna leave them out. So to me, the wrestler of the year, the best guy I saw, best matches, just best in the in-ring part was like best. Just overall, just got it, has got to be Zuka King. So while I'm talking about Zuka King as the best wrestler, the best manager has to be the illustrious Perry James. They never disappointed me anytime I saw them. They were great. They did fun. They were always great. Even matches they shouldn't have been good were good with them. And I have to give them all the credit. They're fantastic. I mean, Zuka's a great guy. I've known Perry James for 1,000 years now. But Zuka is as good as they come. So I really thought this year was Zuka King's year as a wrestler, and Perry's back on top again. Tag team of the year, y'all, let's be honest, it's the Heat Seekers. Matt Sigmund and Elliott Russell. They're probably the best tag team not named FTR in the world. All right? And I'm being honest about that. FTR is the greatest tag team living today. FTR is probably the greatest living tag team since they did the American Alpha feud. But the second best is absolutely the Heat Seekers. No, I have seen no one close in terms of their in-ring work. Nobody's close. Nobody's even remotely close. Technical Wrestler of the Year. This is kind of a hard one because, I mean, the rest of the year, Zuka King's the one that has it all. But if you want to give Technical Wrestler of the Year, the in-ring stuff, the in-ring mechanics, those kind of things, I've got to give it to David Anthony out of Tennessee. He's got an old school vibe, but he does judo, and he's like won medals in judo and competitions. But everything I saw from him from the technical aspects was just really out of this world. And he does the submissions in his wrestling. He just does an absolutely excellent job of with those with his technical wrestling. So yeah, definitely David Anthony. Uh, I think was the best technical wrestler that I saw wrestle this year. I didn't see him live any, but I did see a lot of video on him. So he was really excellent. Uh, the next one is Best Booker. I don't think there was a Best Booker. Every show I saw had issues, and so I'm there was no Best Booker. Best Promotion, AML, America's Most Loved Wrestling or Liked Wrestling, but it's AML. I think Brian and Tracy Myers do a fantastic job of their promoting the shows. I mean, some of the talent there's hit or miss, and but I think overall, I mean, I've seen their crowds and stuff, and I would say PWX Pro Wrestling Experience, except they book Ethan Case. And folks, if you booking Fabulous Schmoola, you automatically get disqualified for me considering you to be the promotion of the year. So I'm going to give it to AML because overall, I know they're going to have a huge WrestleCade weekend. They did a big show up there in Hickory at the baseball stadium. So AML, I think y'all were the promotion of the year. Best babyface I saw this year. I would have said Austin Jordan, but Austin Jordan is he was hurt most of the year. So I'm going for best babyface. Might surprise some of y'all. Big Country. And even though he's like 400 pounds or so, everybody loves him. So and he was a great babyface when I saw him. So Big Country, you were the best babyface. Best heel? Yep, Zuka. You got it, kid. definitely best heel. Zuka, you and Perry. Easy. Best comeback, Jet Black, my old friend. Dom, it's great to see you again. I seem to be I hadn't seen you booked here lately or word of you being on shows, but when I saw you back this summer, teaming with Zuka some and doing other things, it was great. Fantastic to see you back. Incredible talent. Always loved working with you. I love you as a brother and as a friend. So that was really fantastic to see. Most improved, Chase Emery, the Blue Chipper, the All-American. Who else? I think he had only had a couple of matches when I met him in 2020, and he wrestled for Pro Wrestling Union, but this year he has caught his stride. And he's great as a heel, but then again, I want to see him, and I've seen his babyface too, and he just needs to work higher level of talent. Chase, this is my message to you. I've told you to your face. Stop saying yes to so many mud shows, and you know what a mud show is and who mud show people are. You can stay at home for free and go to the gym rather than go and work rotten mud shows. So another award I would say is, okay, so I've given all the positive things. So why don't we do some of the negative things? So of course, somebody I'll just go and say, Randy Wayne said that, he started ghosting me because I was toxic. I was a toxic friendship, or I had, then he said, no, let me go back. He was talking to a mutual friend. He said, no, go back. Let me say negative. Yeah, I'm going to be negative about some stupid wrestling stuff. Absolutely. And toxic, ask your ex-wives and your baby mamas about toxic. So, and like some certain female wrestlers who are getting contracts and things. So, and some guys out in Texas. So anyhow, Uh, the most disgusting promotional tactic: intergender wrestling. I fault everyone who books intergender wrestling. I fault everyone who has engaged in an intergender wrestling match for shitting on the professional wrestling business during this year. Shame on you. Some of you know better. Now, I'm not talking about people. If you're under contract, you got to do what they tell you. But I'm talking about people at the indie wrestling level. Shame on you for doing it. Unless it's in a bar and everybody's drunk, including the wrestlers, which is where I did it with Allison Danger, Kathy Carino Yaki a number of years ago. But there's things you do when you're younger that you don't do that you get as you get older and wiser, and not a fall down drunk, right? That was one of those things that I did a couple times, but to make it make sense, and even Melissa Coates and I teamed, we were much bigger and stronger than our opponents. Okay, that's where it makes sense. Little woman wrestling big guy competitively, this makes no sense. Okay, this makes no sense whatsoever. And this is what has bothered me, and one of the reasons why I care nothing about promoting. And some people will probably be upset with me saying this, but you have never paid me a dime for anything in wrestling, so you can kiss my fat white ass. Actually, my ass ain't that white, fat, but it is white. So you can kiss my ass. I don't care. I'm not. Diversity is one thing. Good sense and smart booking is another. So if you have an indie promoter and you have booked intergender wrestling this year, that's for you. So that is definitely the most disgusting promotional tactic. Worst wrestler. Ooh. Worst wrestler. You know, who is the worst wrestler I saw this year? I will say one thing about this year. I guess there's no one I saw as a wrestler that I wanted to take my kendo stick to too much and beat up. Oh, good Lord. How could I forget? BNB, Big Nasty Bastard, or whatever Michael Elliott's calling himself under the mask as part of the Moonshine Express. Although I met Bootleg Dave, and he's a really this weekend, he wasn't wrestling, he was just running a little gimmick table, and he was really a great guy. Very nice guy from Spartanburg. And I've heard lots of good things about him. I hadn't seen much of his work because he'd been injured. But yeah, Michael, good God, you have no business. You have less business being a wrestling ring than me. You're rotten. You can't bump. And then when I told you need to lose some weight and do something, you just said, well, that ain't going to happen. And you're booking, you suck ass. Yeah, you're the worst booker of the year for NAWA and now Pro Wrestling Patriotic Wrestling Federation, PWF, up there in Rock Hill. You talked Tom into letting you book, and you couldn't book your way out of a wet sack. Yeah, you suck. Your wrestling is the absolute drizzling fucking shits. My God, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. I mean, your video stuff's good, but your booking and your wrestling, you should be beaten up with a kendo stick. I'd like to see that. Beat some sense into you, maybe. Yeah, you are just absolutely the worst. And worst wrestling promotion that people see, definitely the Saturday afternoon double shit fest of NAWA out of North Carolina. Although Jason Freeman, the promoter, is a great guy. He's the rotten as the Golden Gladiator #2, but he's a good. I've seen him as a good referee. But your show, and of course, the perennial winner, American Pro Wrestling with Chief Jay Eagle, the fat bitch himself. That is that's just, it's the worst. But then again, I think they want it to be the worst. It's just absolutely horrible. So that's uh, those are the absolute worst of things. I guess rookie of the year. I hadn't said rookie of the year. I'll go rookie of the year, Sammy Love, uh, out of North Carolina. He does old school things, although he's only just turned 18 last week on Halloween, which I told him makes sense because your daddy watches the Great Pumpkin. Uh, yeah, Sammy definitely the best rookie I've seen, and he gets it. And I think if he's a football player and stuff, and if he gets his body, it takes time when you're young. Although he's a big hoss of a guy. I mean, I think he could really make it as a like to WWE or AEW in the future, because I mean he's got size, just like Chase Emery has size. Those guys, they have the size that they can make it. Best high flyer, Jacob Armachain, man. Jacob Armachain just does incredible stuff. He's another great heel, but Jacob Armachain, best high flyer I saw this year by far. He just does. He can do incredible stuff, and he's small, but he gets it. He's got a good mind. And I guess it's time, since it's 26 minutes in, it's about time for douchebag of the year. Where do I even start? This year has been full of douchebags. So let's talk about who might be up for the douchebag of the year. Well, we have the perennial underjaker, Jake Jacobs, which it's just I can't even put Jake, buddy. I can't even put you as a douchebag of the year because it's such a joke at this point. Not only is you a joke to me, you're a joke to everybody in the locker room, right? And you're naive. Your work is rotten. Your ego is insane. And this comes from someone with a huge ego, but I've got the records to back it up, right? So you're kind of perennial. Randy Wayne, just for being a manipulative jackass to pour coal, running his business into the ground, and having no balls to tell me to my face about that. I'm toxic or I'm negative. That's a douchebag move. So fuck you, Randy Wayne. Let's see, who else has been a big douchebag? XWW. I would say XWW and Manny Mac, but I mean, you get people to mark out for you and spend a lot of money on you. So God bless. Your wrestling's for the most part terrible, and but you're not a douchebag. You're just kind of a bougie Herb Abrams. For those of you that want to look that up, look up Herb Abrams of the UWF. Well, Manny Mac's the bougie Herb Abrams. I guess this year I have kind of gotten used to the way people are enough to where I don't really have anyone that I think's a douchebag. I think the douchebags for this year are going to be the ones next year who lose their asses at wrestling. So I will leave that illustrious award open for next year. So those of you who lose it this year and next year, then I'll give it for 2 years. Peace out, y'all.